Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who. Last time around we had New Earth. What was that one about?
Well, I know they went to one of the colonies that was talked about before in The End of the World, whatever that was. And I remember Cassandra was there, regenerated into a new stretch piece of skin. But she was then able to take over Rose's body.
Yeah.
And they were confined to a hospital because apparently these cat nuns were essentially getting all the diseases in the galaxy or the universe so that they could then try to find cures for them or something. And anyway, the people broke out. I can't remember who released them, either the Doctor released them or Cassandra. Anyway, and I don't recall how it ended up.
The Doctor basically took all the medicine that was in the hospital, threw it into the decontamination part of the elevator, or the lift, doused himself, doused a couple other people, the sick people, and that created the cure, which could be spread around. So, and there was also the face of Bo, the big old face of Bo,
who said he had something to tell the Doctor, but not yet.
Yeah. He was dying, and the legend has it that he will impart his final words to someone like him, like the Doctor.
The Traveler.
Yeah. But then he got better, and he was like, we can wait a little while. So
in Ghostbusters, wasn't Zool the Traveler?
I don't remember.
That would be a crossover.
Yeah. I don't know, but that's pretty much where we left off with a vague intrigue of what could the face of Bo want to say. So, but it's a very, very, very fascinating thing. I mean, he is a big old wise face. You know, he's very important. Anyway, so yeah, that was the beginning of the season. We're moving on. Is there anything else to say?
I got nothing at the moment.
And we might as well just cut the intro short, unless we want to talk about books for 11 minutes. And we might as well just jump right into this episode.
You won't stand aside and we'll take it by force.
And by what power? The hand of God?
No. The fist of man.
Oh. Oh no, ninja monks.
Shaolin. Shaolin monks and street gangs. Irish street gangs, one assumes. Oh, they're Matrix.
It's a real Shaolin showdown right now.
I vaguely remember that, though.
Yeah.
As you mean cancer? What else is TARDIS for? I can take you to the Battle of Trafalgar, first anti-gravity Olympics, season crossing the Rubicon, or the injury at the top rank Sheffield, England, 21st November 1979. What do you think? Sheffield it is? Hold on tight.
I wouldn't mind seeing the Battle of Trafalgar.
That's because you're not punk enough.
1879. Same difference.
Explain your presence and the nakedness of this girl.
Are we in Scotland?
How can you be ignorant of that?
Oh, I'm dazed and confused. I've been chasing this wee naked child over hill and over dale. All right, yeah. Timorous beastie.
Oh, guys, I've been boot in a boot.
No, don't do that.
Boots, man.
No, really don't.
Will you identify yourself, sir?
I'm Dr. James McCrimmon from the
Oh.
township of Balamory. As you can see, a doctorate from the University of Edinburgh. I trained under Dr. Bell himself.
Ah.
Let them approach.
I don't think that's wise, man.
Let them approach.
Dr. Bell trained
You will approach
Conan
the girl
Doyle,
and
who wrote
show
Sherlock
all
Holmes.
due deference.
And Bell may or may not be the inspiration for Holmes. Is it Victoria?
Rose? Might I introduce Her Majesty Queen Victoria?
It's funny though, because you say assassination, you just think of Kennedy and stuff. Not her.
1879, she said. 6 attempts on her life?
And I'll tell you something else.
I think you mainly hear about the ones that succeeded.
I wanted to say, we are not amused. I bet you £5 I can make us out.
Well, if I gamble on that, it'd be an abuse of my privilege as a traveller in time.
10 quid.
Done.
I think Balmoral is where Queen Elizabeth II was when she passed. Great observatory there on the roof. What's it to be? Muskets in the nut garden.
Your Majesty.
Someone planned the first Queen
My
Elizabeth's
apologies
assassination
for
that
the
way.
emergency. My late husband spoke of it often. The Torchwood estate. Now, shall we go inside? And please excuse the naked girl.
Sorry.
She's a fair old child. I bought her for sixpence in old London town. It was her of the Elephant Man.
Funny, but I'm so not amused.
I've directed The Elephant Man twice.
It hardly matters. Shall we proceed?
So close.
You're trying too hard.
Nuclear codes.
In there then.
Like a Viking berserker.
What you might disapprove, Your Majesty. Stargazing. Isn't that a bit fanciful? Could easily not be amused or something. No?
This device surveys the infinite work of God. Oh, my late husband enjoyed his company. Prince Albert himself was acquainted with many rural superstitions, coming as he did from Saxe-Coburg.
That's Bavaria.
When Albert
That
was
honestly
told
does not help me that much.
He was
Southern Germany.
So what? It said... Excuse me, sir. Perhaps Her Majesty's party could repair to their rooms. It's almost dark. Of course. Yes.
Werewolves of London. Or in this case, werewolves of Balmoral.
Could we find some clothes for Miss Tyler? I'm tired of nakedness.
It's not amusing, is it?
Give it up, Rose.
After all, there is a full moon tonight.
So there is, Mum.
The bad wolf is back.
No, this is the Batter Wolf.
This is the big bad wolf.
Oh. 11 herbs and spices.
Wonder, did they specifically put out a call for bald actors or just had them shave their heads? Change clothes first.
Feral child could probably eat it raw.
Very wise, man. Very witty.
Slightly witty, perhaps. I know you rarely get the chance to dine with me, Captain, but don't get too excited. I shall contain my wit, in case I do you further injury. Since my husband's death, I find myself with more of a taste for supernatural fiction.
You must miss him.
Very much. Oh, completely.
He lived another 30 years after this, I
And that's the
think.
charm of a ghost story, isn't it?
Where were you born?
This body, 10 miles away. A weakling, heartsick boy, stolen away at night by the brethren for my cultivation. I carved out his soul and sat in his heart. I would migrate to the holy monarch.
You mean Queen Victoria?
With one bite, I would pass into her blood. And then it begins, the empire of the wolf. Many questions. Look, inside your eyes, you've seen it too. Seen what? The wolf, there is something of the wolf about you.
What if they had a different reason for wanting the story kept quiet? What if they turned from God and worshipped the wolf? And what if they were with us right now?
unsubtly speaking Latin.
I demand to know your intention.
Lupus Deus est.
What is it that you want?
Shoot him.
Yeah.
The throne.
Why do you get so close? You have a ranged weapon. It's not the time, man. That'll stop him. Does anyone have a bone?
The battle's done. There's no creature on God's earth could survive such an assault.
Funny wording you have.
I'm telling you, sir, I will sleep well tonight with that thing's hide up on my wall. It must have crawled away to death. There's nothing we can do.
Right, no one be stupid anymore. Let's go.
There's a little silver in the pantry kitchen.
You think there's a chance there's wolfsbane?
Excuse my manners, ma'am, but I shall go first, the better to assist Her Majesty's egress.
A noble sentiment, my Sir Walter Raleigh.
Yeah, any chance you can hurry up?
What is it? Why can't I get in?
I tell you what, though.
What?
Werewolf.
I know.
I tried to suggest something was wrong. I thought you might notice. Did you think there was nothing strange about my household stuff?
Well, they were bold, athletic. Your wife's away, I just thought you were happy.
I tell you what, though, Mum, I bet you're not amused now.
Come on.
Funny.
No, I'm sorry.
What exactly? I pray tell me, someone, please. What exactly is that creature?
Wolf.
You call it a werewolf, but technically it's more of a lupine wavelength hemiveriform.
And should I trust you, sir? You who change your voice so easily?
Oh, yeah, you
What
dropped the
happened?
accent.
So, Robert, did your father put that there?
I don't know, I suppose.
The other door, too. No carving wouldn't be enough. I wonder.
Viscum album, the oil of the mistletoe, has been worked into the wood like a varnish. How clever was your dad? I love him!
In the year of our Lord 1540, under the reign of King James V, an almighty fire did burn in the pit. That's the Glen of St. Catherine, just by the monastery.
But that's over 300 years ago. What's it been waiting for?
Maybe just a single cell survived.
The Empire of the Wolf.
Imagine it. Victorian age accelerated. Starships and missiles fueled by coal and driven by steam.
Steampunk.
Leaving history devastated in its wake.
I mean, it sounds kind of dope.
Sir Robert, it is said that whoever owns it must surely die.
Well, that's true. Anything if you wait long enough. You know, that is so beautiful.
How much is that worth?
They say the wages of the entire planet are a whole.
Good job my mum's not here. She'd be fighting the wolf off with a bare
She'd win.
Gotta get the observatory!
But now my wife will remember me with honor.
Make it brighter. Let me go.
world's worst sunburn.
If that thing bit you,
It was a splinter of wood when the door came apart. It's nothing.
let me see.
It is nothing.
That's not suspicious at all.
By the power invested in me by the church and the state, I dub thee, Sir Doctor of Cardiff. By the power invested in me by the church and the state, I dub thee, Dame Rose of the Power Estate.
That is the Powell estate, I was right.
I think your husband cut that diamond to save your life. He's protecting you even now, Mum. From beyond the grave.
Indeed. Then you may think on this also, that I am not amused. Yes. Not remotely amused. And
That's 10
henceforth,
quid.
I banish you. But I know that you consort with stars and magic and think it fun. But your world is steeped in terror and blasphemy and death, and I will not allow it. Now leave my world and never return.
He banished us from the Empire. We can go to, like, the States. And the time where there is no Empire.
So the royal family are werewolves?
Wow, maybe not yet. I mean, a single wolf cell could take 100 years to mature. Might be ready by early 21st century.
Nah, that's just ridiculous. Mind you, Princess Anne.
I'll say no more.
They like hunting. They love blood sports. Oh my God, they're werewolves!
I propose an institute to investigate these strange happenings and to fight them. I would call it Torchwood. The Torchwood Institute. And if this doctor should return, then he should beware. Because Torchwood will be waiting.
Oh, boy.
Kind of waiting for that there at the end.
Well, yeah.
Because I think somewhere in the last 4 or 5 years, you have mentioned that Torchwood was established by Victoria in some connection, not to, specifically thwart the Doctor, but I think you had mentioned that, so I was kind of waiting to see if this was it.
Well, folks, I was wrong. He did remember something.
Which for me is very unusual.
Oh, well. What is this episode? What's today, the 7th?
Yes.
There's the 7th. 24th. We should go out around the time of Halloween. So, what a perfect little Halloween episode to throw in. Yeah. Oh, boy.
Well, I certainly think the werewolves in this episode was much more expected than the werewolves in Inferno. Although they weren't exactly werewolves, they were just blue wolves, weren't they?
They were just a bad makeup idea.
I read recently that they weren't originally part of that story, but somebody, and I don't know if it wasn't the director, I don't think, but somebody higher up said, well, there's no monsters, there's no aliens, you got to throw in something because that's what people are expecting, so they threw them in, and of course they were awful and had nothing to do with the story.
Well, yeah, so. But yeah, this time, one werewolf, all CG, no makeup on that one, but.
Although, at the very beginning, when he was just beginning to change, it did seem momentarily, just in a couple of seconds there, that it was an actor with a wolf appendage put on his face.
Well, yeah. But now we've learned the truth that the royal family are all werewolves. So, it's funny because Rose mentions, they really like hunting. I remember I saw a video once that was like, this is just these two guys. They were just like backpacking in the countryside of England, and they're like, "Yeah, we just ran into King Charles, and he was just there, like in casual. I guess he was hunting."
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, "Wow, that's a really crazy thing to happen." Then I thought it's like, I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, I assume there's some defense around King Charles. I mean, I know he doesn't have the most political importance anymore, but you'd think he would... Like, I'm amazed something like that could actually happen. Like, maybe because I'm thinking from an American perspective of, you cannot get close to the president without the government knowing.
One assumes that, and I can't remember if it's MI5 or MI6, there is a secret service. And I'm sure that even though these two guys, ran into King Charles, I'm sure that there were agents around to essentially make sure that there was nothing, nefarious about them.
Yeah.
And regarding hunting, that did actually carry over into the early United States, especially in the South. They used to go on fox hunts of all things, and that's had, the beagles and the other kinds of bloodhounds that came from that. But following the Civil War, along with the abolition of slavery, a lot of the Southern culture was completely torn up, and one of the things that fortunately went the way of the dodo was these organized hunts. There are a lot of people in the United States today who still hunt, but there's no organized fox hunts and things like that.
Yeah. I know I've seen a YouTube channel. This is older guy, and granted, there was like a video of his where he's just talking about archery, and this was like 10, 15 years ago, and he was already old in that video. I saw some of his recent videos, like, he's still kicking. He's just 15 years older. Like, all that gray just went grayer, basically. But it was kind of an interesting thing, and he, like, has just this big forest on his property, and he just has a lot of dummies that he goes around with a bow and arrow, and he can just shoot him and have a good time. So he doesn't normally, I think, do normal
I have to tell
hunting.
you my hunting story. It's one of the reasons why I've never really encouraged you or your brother to see if you wanted to go hunting. Out on Mom's family's farm, a lot of the other cousins would go out and shoot. They weren't specifically hunting. They were just, being familiar with guns. But when I was very young, and this must have been when we lived in France, so I couldn't have been at the oldest more than about 8 years old. But my mom and dad loved hunting, both of them. And for some reason, on this particular hunt where I was taken along, my mother had a very large bore shotgun. I mean, something that would bring down a larger animal. So they were out hunting, and again, I can't remember if they were specifically looking for anything, but we were on the edges of a forest, and a squirrel popped out from behind a tree and saw us, and of course froze. And for some reason, my mother raised the shotgun and pulled the trigger, and this is what I remember. 1 second there was a squirrel, and 1 second later there was just this little mist. I mean, there was nothing left of it except its tail. I'm sure my dad was laughing. I was probably horrified, but I remember my mother went over and got that tail, and she kept that tail for many, many years, and I don't ever recall her going hunting again. My dad always had guns of all kinds in the house because he wasn't an avid hunter, but he was an occasional hunter. But that is kind of what turned me off on the idea of hunting, is just watching an animal be vaporized, just like they would with a blaster of some kind. But that just went, and it was gone.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing left but the tail.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things because it's like, as a kid, I probably would have been the same way. Nowadays, as a bitter against squirrels 27-year-old man, I would be like, no, I want to let's do it. Let's kill these squirrels. But that's because we have a ton of squirrels that run around the backyard and drive us insane. Even though there's so many people in this neighborhood that have dogs. Like, at the very least, our house, the two houses next to us, have dogs. But these squirrels just keep going, and someone... I've said this on like 4 videos now, but someone is feeding them peanuts, and it's driving me crazy.
They bury the peanuts in our backyard, and of course when they come to get them later on in the wintertime, they come down, and of course we let the beagle out, and the beagle chases them, but he's no match for them. They're just much too fast.
But even like... But see, now, because he's getting clever now that he's older. He used to just go and, chase them around. He's learned to wait. He'll be out there, and they'll come down into the yard, and he'll just wait and watch them. They'll bury a peanut, run off, and then he'll just go get it and eat it. I don't know how they're surviving because they don't have any food for winter. Granted, I guess winter is not that severe in Oklahoma. So
now, one question, and I'm not sure, they may have cleared this up. So when the alien spacecraft landed near the Abbey 300, 400 years ago, did the monks essentially cultivate what was left of the alien, or was the alien presence guiding them to essentially help regenerate it?
Well, with the way that it works, it's not just one life form. I guess it's more just a parasite. So the body that we see, like he said, he was just some poor soul that was born about 10 miles from there. So presumably, I guess, maybe it possessed one of the monks and then started swaying all the... Or maybe it somehow could, like, pass itself through just to make sure it gets everyone. Yeah. And then through that 300 years or so that it was doing that, it was growing enough to where it could transform in the moonlight. Yeah. So it's something like that. They don't ever give the full specifics of how the alien works, but
he did say at the end, though, essentially that he was tired of doing this. That's why he said, "Increase the light and let me go."
Yeah. So
that's what made me believe that for some reason it was the monks who were controlling it, rather than it controlling the monks. But
yeah, it could, because we don't even see like any of the monks afterwards. So, like, because there were still like monks outside with guns, but we don't really see what happens to them. Yeah. All we know is the original monk that Queen Victoria just shot outright. So, yeah, I don't know. It could be either way. I do like David Tennant getting to use a Scottish accent in this episode. Although I like, because I'm pretty sure it's David Tennant, who is Scottish, doing an English accent, doing a Scottish accent. It's like, he can't just slip into his normal. He has to have that extra layer to it. So, and
just some of the subtle callbacks, calling himself Jamie McCrimmon, or Sir James McCrimmon. And the fact that when Rose tried to do a Scottish accent, he goes, "Oh, no. That's like us." I have a friend here that I worked with a couple of years ago, who, although he was born in the United States, apparently lived a long time in Great Britain, and he has a British accent. And I don't know that he has come to see me in anything, because I haven't had to do a British accent until we did Charlie's Aunt. So I'm always worried that he's going to come up and go, "Oh, that was such a bad accent."
Oh, yeah.
But I think mine is pretty good, because, again, when I was younger, I would have been, we got there and I would have been 12, 13, 14, 15 at that time. So I picked up a lot of the accents at that time and have used them since then, perfecting them as much as I can. But yeah, I always worry that he's going to go, "Oh, no.
Well, yeah. So, and yeah, with the rest of the stuff, I mean, it was just a good, creepy episode going around this mansion, discovering, I suppose, a new weakness of a werewolf being mistletoe. Although I like how they say that it's not that that's like, oh, the classic thing or anything. It's just what the monks have like trained him, which I guess that's another thing of, it was probably the monks doing this whole thing, rather than just the wolf itself. So, but yeah,
and I realized that some of that, of course, had to be sets, but some of those sets were so incredibly detailed that it makes you wonder if that some of it wasn't actually filmed on location somewhere. Now I realize the observatory was probably not real, but some of that other stuff, I mean, especially the staircases, having to build it. If you're one of the gaffers, or what do they call them on the BBC, going, "Seriously, we gotta build a 3-story spiral staircase." So it's just, I'm again constantly amazed at how far in 16 years now, the sets have come from old Doctor Who, from the classic Doctor Who, because you and I said, oh, look, they're in caves again. And that was probably because it was very easy to build caves.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I would imagine a lot of it was like on location stuff, but yeah. Now, with the topic of Wolfsbane, I don't know if you've read any werewolf stories, or I mean, if you've seen like, you know, the Wolfman or something like that. Is Wolfsbane generally used as, you know, a bane of a wolf?
No, it's usually used like garlic with a vampire.
Yeah, that's a weird thing that it's like they always have like garlic and the Wolfsbane for a vampire, but not for the werewolf.
The werewolf, again, when he went into or towards the kitchen area, my thought was, well, there must be actual silver in the silverware, you know, not modern day alloys like we have now.
Yeah.
Because werewolves, of course, can only be killed with silver bullets.
Yeah. Well, and that's because I remember there was a video, I think it was talking about vampires and like all the weaknesses that vampires have and stuff. And, you know, there was some of it where it's like, you know, oh, well, if you cut off a vampire's head, it kills them. It's like, I don't know about anyone else, but if you cut my head off, yeah, of course that's going to kill me. So, okay, sure, that works on vampires too. But then it's like, you know, apparently in some vampire stories, it's like, oh yeah, the silver bullet. And it's like, but why are you confusing that with the werewolf? Yeah. Like, it's strange that we haven't really separated, at least in fiction, the vampire from the werewolf.
Yeah. In many of the earliest vampire stories, there was no restriction that they could only be out after sundown. You know.
Yeah.
And in fact, if I recall correctly, in Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, when Gary Oldman played the Count, he was actually able to go out during the daytime.
Yeah, so
it's one of those things where writers pretty much make up whatever they want.
Yeah.
And then some people say, oh, well, I saw the original Bela Lugosi Dracula, so I'm going to follow whatever they set up in that one. Others say, you know, no, I'm going to go with what they did with Christopher Lee, or I'm going to go with what they did with Gary Oldman or whoever. So
yeah,
it's whatever you want.
Because the whole dying to sunlight, that was established in Nosferatu specifically. But I think, yeah, in the book, I think it's something that that sunlight will weaken a vampire, but it won't kill him. He's at his top form at night, basically. So yeah, you're right that it is sort of it's whatever. There's I've seen other vampire stories where it's just the sunlight, and you know the heroes have to like have this almost sunlight magic basically to defeat a vampire. And of course, you know, whichever brings in the crucifix and the religious imagery and stuff. There was also one story I saw where there were vampire hunters there, and they found this weapon that could be a cross, and one of them was explaining, yeah, this crazy vampire hunter years ago, he went to India and had this made, and someone was like, so did he die in India? Because Indian vampires are not going to understand putting a cross in front of someone. And he said that it's kind of dumb, but the explanation was vampires are an advanced predator species, so their eyesight is way different to ours. So if you put any sort of geometric shape right up in their vision, it just confuses their brains. And obviously, you know, there's other stuff where you put the crucifix on it and it burns and stuff, but I always thought that was a funny explanation for that.
We just watched that horror of Dracula with Christopher Lee, and what he did there at the end with the two candlesticks. Theoretically, that's not supposed to work because it's not just anything that makes a cross. It's supposed to be an actual crucifix or real holy water. And you said you saw The Exorcist when Father Karras supposedly puts the holy water on Reagan, and she says it burns. He says, well, then she can't be really possessed because this isn't really holy water. I was just fooling her. So but again, in one specific version of that, holy water and actual crucifixes, not a crucifix made with candlesticks.
Yeah, so either way, anyway, back to the wolf.
Back to the wolf.
It was interesting. I liked the whole thing too. I'm not entirely sure how, like, I get the whole thing of, Prince Albert set up this whole thing with this mansion and the lord there, basically, and then he started cutting away at the diamond so that it would be perfect in order to save Victoria. I don't remember how they said he learned about this and actually believed that the wolf was real. Maybe I missed that part. But my next thing is, it's amazing that he knew this is the place where you will be attacked by the wolf someday. Because, they said, like, oh, we had to wait so long for this to work.
But who was it? Sir Robert Charles, who was the guy who defended there at the end with the sword?
I think it was Sir Robert.
All right. But his father and Prince Albert were good friends, and Albert told him the story where he thought the werewolf was there, and basically said, should Queen Victoria or anyone from the royal family ever come this way, then this will be their defense. So I don't think they specifically knew in advance that it was going to happen, but it basically said, I am aware that there is a threat to the Empire, but it literally has to be within the 10 miles here, so if you're ever in this area, we will have a trap set up for it.
Yeah.
That's what I took from it.
Yeah, it just seemed interesting because the monks were like, oh, well, they kind of picked this place almost on a whim because it's like, oh, finally one of your trips coincided with the full moon, so they just happened to pick this place in Scotland. But I don't know. I mean, maybe it was the only place. I don't know. From what I hear, you just have to walk 10 feet to find a castle in Scotland. So, but either way, it was still interesting.
And by the way, just minor historical note here. I hope I'm getting this right. They said that the meteorite fell during the reign of James V, whose son was James VI, who's the one who was the cousin of Queen Elizabeth I. So when she died, she had made it known that she wanted her closest blood relative, James VI of Scotland, to become James I of England. He was a very religious man. He's the one who had all the scholars come together and translate the Hebrew and Latin Bibles into English. That's why it's called the King James Version.
Yeah. And still a good historical episode too,
yes.
With Queen Victoria, who by the end was not amused. so that's 10 quid for Rose. And it is interesting at the end of, banishing the Doctor and Rose from the Empire, which joke's on her, and the Empire ain't gonna last anyway. So,
but again, theoretically speaking, when she says that, would that essentially stop existing at her passing, which was early 1900s, or again, would it go through the British Empire? Which I don't know. Do we call the end of the British Empire after World War II, where it becomes the British Commonwealth? So that's one of those things that it was kind of an interesting thing to say, but it's kind of open-ended, considering who's going to say when does the empire end, or does this particular banishment end with Victoria's death? And because we've already seen that he's gone back as what was the doctor who picked up Victoria during?
Oh, that was the second Doctor.
So yeah, I mean, he obviously went back.
And
although that doctor may have gone before this doctor's.
I mean, it's a whole thing of like, on top of just the fact of nobody can enforce this because nobody knows about this except Queen Victoria. So it'd be a difficult thing of, and obviously in the modern day, like, Harriet Jones isn't pulling that out when going against him or anything. So, but the more important thing is the establishment of the Torchwood Institute, the Great Britain equivalent of S.H.I.E.L.D., I guess. That's kind of what I thought the first time around. I was just like, oh, it sounds like S.H.I.E.L.D. You know, they're going to investigate these things. And
No, and again, because we may do this in the future, the series Torchwood, you said it comes about a year after all of this.
Yeah.
Is it set in Victorian times, or is it up into modern times?
It is modern times. So, because, I mean, we also kind of. We know that Torchwood still exists in the modern era, and created a Death Star in the middle of London. But yeah, so that's that, and I it's still up in the air on should we watch it or not. It's just the main thing is that's extra work.
Yeah.
For me.
We don't have to react to it. We can just watch it.
Yeah, I don't know. And
it makes you wonder. Torchwood obviously didn't exist in 2150 because it would have taken care of the Daleks who invaded the Earth in 2150, whatever that was.
You would think.
You'd think.
Well, yeah. So.
Continuity.
I mean, that's also the thing of like the episode where it's like, oh, the evil salamander. You know, he's looked like the second Doctor, and it's like, oh yes, in the far off era of 2018, and then you know the 2018. I think that was like the 13th Doctor's first season. Not a word about salamander. So, I mean. Who do you think would win in that election? Salamander or Donald Trump? I don't know. Which is the better outcome for humanity? So, anywho. I guess that's pretty much it. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
All right. Then with all of that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of our modern Doctor Who reactions, as well as another playlist for all of our classic Doctor Who reactions if you want to go check those out. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.